They came to celebrate a wedding, but they walked out in anger. On my wedding day, my wife insulted my poor family, and that single sentence destroyed everything we thought we were building. My name is Samto, and I used to believe love could cover anything. I learned on my wedding day that love cannot cover shame. The morning of my wedding started bright. The hotel room smelled like fresh soap and new suits. My best man, Tony, kept checking his watch like time was chasing him. My mother sat near the window in her green wrapper, praying under her breath. She looked proud, but her eyes carried worry. "Samto," she said softly, "remember your people today." I nodded. I thought I understood. My bride, Dara, wanted a big wedding. Not big like joyful. Big like loud. Big like a movie. She wanted white flowers from Abuja, a live band, and a cake taller than my younger sister. She said it was her once-in-a-lifetime moment, and everyone must feel it. 2 days before the wedding, my father's elder brother called. Uncle Uche said some family members were coming from the village. They were not rich. Transport money was hard, but they still wanted to honor me. Dara heard the call on speaker. After I ended it, she smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. "Village people at my wedding?" she asked. "Samto, please control that." I laughed to soften it. "Their family." She adjusted her robe like she was brushing off dust. "Then tell them to dress like family." That was the first small crack. I did not know it would become a full break. The church was full before noon. Cameras flashed. Guests fanned themselves with programs. I stood at the altar and waited, sweating inside my suit, smiling outside it. When Dara arrived, the room rose like a wave. She looked perfect, veil, shining skin, expensive perfume. People whispered, "Wow," like they were watching a queen. I felt lucky. I also felt nervous, but I couldn't explain why. After the vows, we moved to the reception hall. The place was bright, decorated in gold and white. Waiters carried trays like they were balancing secrets. Dara's friends took pictures near the flower wall, laughing loudly. My friends danced and shouted my name. Then I saw them. My village family had arrived. Uncle Uche wore his best native, but it was old. His wife, Auntie Alice, held a small nylon bag like it contained their courage. 2 teenage boys stood behind them, eyes wide, trying not to touch anything. Their shoes were dusty from the long trip. I walked toward them with joy. "Uncle, you made it." Uncle Uche hugged me hard. "My son, today is your day," he said, voice shaking with pride. Dara was behind me, taking pictures with her bridesmaids. She turned, saw them, and her smile dropped fast. She looked at the dusty shoes, then at the nylon bag, then at their faces. Her eyes narrowed like she had tasted something bitter. "Samto," she called, loud enough for people close by to hear. "Who are these ones?" I stepped closer to her. "My uncle and his family. The ones I told you about." She made a small sound, like a laugh that wasn't happy. "So they really came." Uncle Uche heard her. Auntie Alice's hand tightened on the nylon bag. I tried to fix it quickly. "Dara, please. Today is not." But Dara raised her chin and said the words that turned my stomach cold. "Please don't bring poverty close to my pictures." The music kept playing, but everything inside me went quiet. I felt like the room had moved far away, like I was underwater. Dara's words hung in the air, sharp and clear. People around us stopped smiling. Some turned to look. Others pretended not to hear, but they did. Uncle Uche's face fell. The pride in his eyes faded into confusion. Auntie Alice looked down at her feet. One of the boys whispered, "Auntie, let's go," but she shook her head slowly. I pulled Dara aside. "Why would you say that?" I asked, keeping my voice low. "They traveled all night to be here." She frowned. "Samto, this is my wedding. Look at them. They don't fit in here." "They are my family," I said. My chest felt tight. "And this is our wedding." She rolled her eyes. I warned you. People will talk. I don't want village embarrassment ruining my day. Behind us, I heard murmurs. Someone whispered, "That was rude." Another said, "Is that how she talks to elders?" Uncle Uche stepped forward slowly. "My son," he said gently, "it's fine. We just came to greet you." Dara turned toward him. Her voice was louder now. "Sir, please move away from the front. You are blocking the photographers." The photographer froze, camera halfway up. That was when something broke inside me. I looked around and saw guests standing up. Chairs scraped the floor. One woman shook her head and picked up her purse. "This is wrong," she said loudly. "I can't sit here and watch this." Another guest followed her. Then another. As they walked out, silence spread like fire. And I knew this wedding was no longer a celebration. People kept leaving. Not in a rush, but slowly, with anger on their faces. Each step they took felt like a judgment. The band stopped playing. The MC stood frozen, holding the microphone like it had betrayed him. I saw my mother at the far table. She had stood up. Her hands were shaking. Tears filled her eyes, not the happy kind. She looked at me, then at Dara, and slowly sat back down like her strength had left her. Dara noticed the empty chairs. "What is going on?" she snapped. "Why are people leaving?" No one answered her. Uncle Uche bent down and picked up the nylon bag Auntie Alice had dropped. He handed it back to her gently. "Alice, let's go," he said softly. "We have greeted our son." I stepped forward. "Uncle, please don't leave." He smiled, but it was a tired smile. "My son, respect is more important than food and music." That sentence cut me deep. As they turned to walk away, Dara scoffed. "Good. At least the place will look better now." That was when my best man, Tony, spoke. "Dara, stop," he said. "This is shameful." She spun toward him. "Mind your business." More guests stood up. Some didn't even look at us as they left. A woman I barely knew said, "Marriage without kindness is a funeral waiting to happen." The hall felt empty, even though people were still there. I stood between my wife and my family, realizing for the first time that I had chosen a woman who did not understand my world. And the worst part was knowing this was only the beginning. The reception ended early, though nobody announced it. The cake was untouched. The chairs stayed half empty. The joy everyone expected never came back. Dara sat like a queen without a kingdom, scrolling on her phone as if the day had not cracked open around her. When we finally left the hall, the ride to the hotel was silent. The city lights passed by, bright and careless. I wanted to speak, but my throat felt locked. Dara broke the silence first. "Today was embarrassing," she said flatly. "Your people ruined my wedding." I turned to her slowly. "My people were insulted by you." She laughed once, sharp and dry. "Samto, please. If they had stayed in the village where they belong, nothing would have happened." That was when I knew we were standing on two different grounds. At the hotel, my mother called. I answered immediately. She did not shout. That scared me more than anger. "My son," she said quietly, "we raised you with respect. Today, I did not recognize you." Tears burned my eyes. "Mama, I tried." "Trying is not enough," she replied. "Silence can be agreement." The call ended. I sat on the edge of the bed, my suit still on, my heart heavy. Dara removed her jewelry and placed it carefully on the table. "Don't start acting like a victim," she said. "You married me. This is the life you chose." I looked at her and realized something painful. I had fallen in love with her beauty and confidence, but I had ignored her pride. That night, sleep avoided me. I kept seeing Uncle Uche's tired smile. And I wondered what else Dara would destroy with her words. Morning came too quickly. Sunlight filled the hotel room, bright and unforgiving. Dara slept peacefully beside me, breathing softly like nothing had happened. I watched her face and felt a strange distance, like she was someone I barely knew. My phone buzzed again and again. Messages. Missed calls. Family groups. Friends. I did not open them at first. I was afraid of the truth waiting inside. Finally, I checked one message from my younger sister, Naya. Brother, Mama has not eaten since yesterday. Uncle Uche called. He is hurt. My chest tightened. I stood up quietly and walked to the bathroom. I looked at myself in the mirror. The man staring back looked older than yesterday. Marriage had not even started, yet it already felt heavy. When I came out, Dara was awake, adjusting her hair. "We need to talk," I said. She sighed. "About what again?" "Somto, let's enjoy our honeymoon." "There will be no honeymoon," I replied. My voice surprised me. It sounded firm. She froze. "What do you mean?" "I mean we can't pretend yesterday didn't happen." She crossed her arms. "I am not apologizing to anybody." I nodded slowly. "Then we have a problem." She laughed, but there was a small shake in it. "You're choosing them over me?" "I'm choosing respect," I said. Her eyes hardened. "Then you will regret this." In that moment, I felt fear, not of losing her, but of what staying silent would turn me into. And I knew the real test of our marriage had just begun. If this story already feels heavy, stay with me. Sometimes, the hardest lessons come before healing. I left the hotel before breakfast. I didn't tell Dara where I was going. I only sent a message to Tony to meet me at my parents' house. The drive felt longer than usual. Every traffic light reminded me of the pause I should have taken before saying, "I do." At home, my mother sat in the living room, staring at nothing. My father stood by the window, hands behind his back. Nobody smiled when I entered. I knelt down. "Mama, Daddy, I'm sorry." My mother looked away. "Sorry doesn't clean shame," she said. My father turned slowly. "Your uncle called this morning," he said. "He said they sold part of their harvest to attend your wedding." My heart dropped. "They brought a gift," my mother added. "They didn't even give it to you." I swallowed hard. "Where is it?" She reached under the table and brought out the nylon bag. Inside was an envelope and a small wooden box. The envelope held money, neatly folded. The box held collarnuts. "They honored you," my father said. "And they were pushed aside." Tears burned my eyes. "I will fix this." My father nodded once. "Then start with truth. Talk to your wife." When I returned to the hotel, Dara was dressed and waiting. "My parents are coming," she said. "We're meeting them for lunch." I looked at her. "Good," I said. "They need to hear what happened." Her smile faded. "Somto, don't embarrass me again." I took a deep breath. "This time, I won't be silent." Lunch was held at an expensive restaurant. Dara's parents arrived smiling, proud, talking about how grand the wedding looked, as if nothing happened. I waited until food was served before I spoke. My hand shook, but my voice did not. "Sir Ma," I said, "we need to talk about yesterday." Dara's mother frowned. "What about it?" I explained everything. The village family. The insult. The guests who walked out. I did not soften my words. Dara interrupted. "Somto is exaggerating," she said quickly. "Those people embarrassed us." Her father raised a hand. "Dara, let him finish." When I ended, silence fell over the table. Dara's mother sighed. "Somto, class matters," she said calmly. "You can't mix everything." I stared at her. "Respect matters more." Dara slammed her fork down. "You see, this is what I married into. Always choosing villagers." Her father's face tightened. "Enough," he said. "Dara, you insulted elders." She stood up. "I will not apologize." I stood too. "Then I won't pretend." The restaurant felt too small. People were watching again. My chest felt tight, but my mind was clear. "Until you apologize to my family," I said, "we are not starting this marriage." Dara laughed, loud and sharp. "You think I will kneel to beg poor people?" I shook my head. "No. I think you will learn." I walked out alone, knowing something bigger was coming, and it would test us all. I spent that night at my parents' house. It felt strange, like I was a boy again, hiding from trouble. My mother cooked soup, but I could barely eat. My phone buzzed many times. Dara did not call. Instead, her friends sent messages full of anger. "How can you disgrace your wife like that? Marriage is about loyalty. You embarrassed her in front of her parents." I turned the phone face down. Late in the night, my father came to sit beside me. "Marriage reveals character," he said quietly. "It doesn't create it." I nodded. I ignored the signs. He placed a hand on my shoulder. "The question now is what you will tolerate." The next morning, news of the wedding spread. Videos were online. Comments were harsh. Some blamed Dara. Some blamed me. Some blamed village people. Shame moved faster than truth. By noon, Uncle Uche called. "My son," he said, "we are fine. Please don't let this break your home." His kindness hurt more than anger. "Uncle," I replied, "this is not your burden." That evening, Dara finally came to my parents' house. She did not greet properly. She walked in like someone entering a courtroom. "We need to talk," she said coldly. My mother stood up. "Sit down first," she replied. Dara hesitated, then sat. "I will not apologize," Dara said again. "But I will move on if you forget it." My mother looked at her steadily. "Child," she said, "forgetting is not healing." Dara scoffed. "Then maybe this marriage was a mistake." Her words hung heavy, and I realized we were standing at a dangerous edge. The room felt small. Even the air seemed to pause. My heart beat loudly in my ears as I stood up. "If this marriage was a mistake," I said, "then we must face it now, not later." Dara stared at me like she didn't recognize me. "You're serious?" "Yes." She laughed, but her eyes were wet. "So you'll throw everything away because of them?" "No," I said calmly. "Because of who you chose to be." My father cleared his throat. "Dara," he said, "respect is the foundation of this family." She crossed her arms. "Your family is too sensitive." That was when my mother spoke again. "Sensitivity is not weakness," she said. "Pride is." Dara stood up abruptly. "I'm leaving," she announced. "I need space." She walked out without looking back. That night, sleep did not come. I thought about the wedding day again and again. The insult. The guests leaving. The quiet dignity of Uncle Uche. I realized something painful but clear. Love without humility becomes poison. 2 days passed. No word from Dara. On the third day, her father called me. His voice was tired. "Somto," he said, "come to our house tomorrow. We need to talk as families." I agreed. When I ended the call, my chest tightened. Family meetings never ended small. I knew whatever happened next would decide whether this marriage would survive or collapse completely. And deep inside, I prepared myself for the truth, whatever it would cost. The next afternoon, I drove to Dara's parents' house alone. The gate opened slowly, like it was thinking twice about letting me in. Inside, the house was quiet. Too quiet. Dara's mother sat on one sofa, her face tight. Her father sat opposite her, hands folded. Dara was not there. "You came," her father said. "Yes, sir," I replied. "We sent Dara to her aunt's place this morning," her mother said. "She needs time to cool down." I nodded. "I understand." Her father leaned forward. "Somto, we raised our daughter well. But pride entered her early." Her mother sighed. She has always hated being associated with anything she considers low. The word stung, but I listened. We did not approve of how she spoke at the wedding, her father continued. But walking out on your own wife. I didn't walk out, I said gently. People walked away from disrespect. Silence followed. Finally, her mother spoke again. What do you want, Somto? I answered honestly. An apology. Not for me. For my family. Her father rubbed his forehead. If she apologizes, will you move on? Yes, I said. But if she doesn't, I can't pretend. They exchanged looks. We will talk to her, her father said. But I won't force her. I stood up. Thank you. As I walked back to my car, I felt a strange mix of hope and fear. Hope that Dara might change. Fear that she wouldn't. That night, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. This is Dara's aunt. Come tomorrow. She wants to talk. My heart raced. Tomorrow would reveal who Dara truly was. I arrived at the aunt's house early the next morning. It was a modest place, quiet and calm. Dara sat on the veranda, staring into space. She looked smaller than I remembered, like pride had drained her strength. She didn't look up when I greeted her. I didn't come to beg, she said first. I didn't ask you to, I replied. She sighed. Everyone is acting like I committed a crime. You insulted elders, I said. That matters. She finally looked at me. Her eyes were red. Do you know how hard it is to build an image? To rise above where you came from? I nodded slowly. Yes. But you don't rise by stepping on others. She looked away. They don't belong in my world. That's the problem, I said. You married into my world. Silence fell between us. After a long moment, she spoke again, softer. If I apologize, will they ever forget? They don't need to forget, I said. They need to heal. She stood up and began pacing. I don't know if I can do this. My chest tightened. Then say it now. She stopped walking. I love you, Somto. But I don't want to be embarrassed again. That sentence told me everything. Love, to her, had conditions. I took a deep breath. Then this marriage will always hurt someone. She didn't respond. As I left, I realized change cannot be begged for. It must be chosen. And Dara was still deciding. 3 days passed after that meeting. No calls. No messages. Silence sat heavy, like it was waiting to speak first. I went to work, but my mind stayed elsewhere. People avoided my eyes. Some whispered. Others asked questions I didn't answer. That evening, my mother called me into her room. Uncle Uche and Auntie Alice were there. I froze when I saw them. I had not expected that. Sit, Uncle Uche said gently. I sat, my heart pounding. We heard everything, Auntie Alice said. Your mother told us. Shame washed over me. Uncle, I failed you. He shook his head. No, my son. You spoke when it mattered. Auntie Alice reached into her bag and brought out the same wooden box from the wedding day. We came to return this, she said. She had collected it from my mother. I frowned. Why? She smiled softly. Because blessings should not be given in pain. My throat tightened. Please keep it. Uncle Uche nodded. We will. But listen carefully. Marriage is not beauty or noise. It is character. Those words settled deep inside me. As they stood to leave, Uncle Uche paused. If your wife apologizes, we will accept it. Not because we are weak, but because we choose peace. After they left, my mother held my hands. You must be ready for any outcome, she said. That night, my phone rang. It was Dara's father. Somto, he said slowly, Dara wants to speak tomorrow. At our house. With everyone present. Everyone. I knew what that meant. This would not be a private talk. It would be a final one. And whatever Dara said tomorrow would decide the fate of this marriage. The living room was full when I arrived. Dara sat between her parents. My parents were there too. The air felt tight, like one wrong word could break everything. No one spoke for a while. Then Dara stood up. She looked at the floor as she spoke. "I have thought about everything," she said. "About the wedding. About what I said." My heart beat fast. "I was wrong," she continued. "I spoke from pride." My mother inhaled sharply. I held my breath. Dara turned toward my parents. "I'm sorry for how I behaved," she said quickly. "I did not mean to hurt anyone." Her words sounded practiced. My father nodded slowly. "Apology is not speed," he said. "It is sincerity." Dara's jaw tightened. She turned toward me. "Samto, I'm apologizing. Isn't this enough?" I didn't answer immediately. I watched her face carefully. Then my mother spoke. "Child, have you apologized to the people you insulted?" Dara hesitated. "I can't keep kneeling for village people," she snapped before she could stop herself. The room went silent. Her father stood up sharply. "Dara." But the damage was done. I stood up too. "That," I said quietly, "is the truth." Dara looked at me, eyes wide. "Samto." "I heard enough," I replied. "An apology that still carries insult is not an apology." Tears filled her eyes, but I felt calm. For the first time since the wedding, my mind was clear. I realized then that the wedding had only revealed what marriage would have hidden later. And I knew the next decision would change all our lives. I left the house without shouting, without slamming any door. Silence followed me like a witness. Outside, the sun was setting, painting the sky orange and red, like it understood endings. I drove for a long time before stopping. I didn't know where I was going. I only knew I needed space to think. My phone buzzed many times, but I didn't answer. For once, I wanted my thoughts to be louder than other people's voices. That night, I slept in my childhood room again. The same posters. The same old desk. Everything felt familiar, yet I felt different. Marriage had aged me. In the early hours of the morning, my father came in quietly and sat beside me. "You did well today," he said. "Doesn't feel like it," I replied. "Doing right often feels heavy," he said. "But doing wrong feels heavier later." I nodded. "What will you do?" he asked. I took a deep breath. "I can't continue this marriage if nothing changes." He studied my face. "And if she changes?" "Then we rebuild," I said. "But I won't beg for respect." Later that day, Dara sent a message. "Can we talk? Just us." I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. "Yes." "Tomorrow." That night, I prayed quietly. Not for the marriage to survive, but for courage to accept whatever truth tomorrow would bring. I slept deeply, knowing dawn would not be gentle. We met at a quiet cafe the next afternoon. No cameras. No family. No audience. Just two people sitting across from each other with too much history between them. Dara looked tired. Her makeup was light. Her voice was softer. "I didn't sleep," she said. "Neither did I," I replied. She wrapped her hands around her cup. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Everything feels like it's falling apart." "It's been broken for a while," I said gently. "We're only seeing it now." She looked up at me. "Do you want to leave me?" I didn't answer immediately. "I want a marriage built on respect," I said. "Not image." She swallowed. "I don't know how to change overnight." "I'm not asking for overnight," I said. "I'm asking for honesty." Tears filled her eyes. "I grew up ashamed of being poor," she whispered. "I promised myself I would never return to that life." I listened. For the first time, I truly listened. "But hurting others won't heal that shame," I said. She nodded slowly. "I see that now." I don't know if it's too late. I leaned back. That depends on what you do next. We sat in silence again. As I stood to leave, she said, "If I apologize properly, will you stay?" I paused. "If you mean it," I said. Walking away, I felt the weight lift slightly. The story was not over yet, but it was finally honest. 2 days later, Dara called me early in the morning. Her voice sounded different, quiet, careful. "I'm ready," she said. "I want to do it properly." My heart skipped. "Do what properly?" "The apology," she replied. "Not in a sitting room. Not in front of cameras. I want to go to the village." I was silent for a moment. That was not what I expected. "My uncle's house is not close," I said. "The road is rough." "I know," she said. "I deserve the discomfort." That afternoon, we drove together. The city slowly disappeared behind us. Tall buildings became trees. Smooth roads became dusty paths. Dara said nothing. She watched the window like she was traveling into her own fear. When we arrived, children stopped playing to stare. Some whispered. Uncle Uche came out of his house slowly. His face showed surprise when he saw us. "Uncle," I said, "we've come to talk." Dara stepped forward before I could speak again. She bent slightly, her voice trembling. "Sir," she said, "I insulted you and your family on my wedding day. I was proud and cruel. I am sorry." The yard went silent. Auntie Alice wiped her hands on her wrapper. She studied Dara's face carefully. "You hurt us," she said calmly. "But you came." Dara nodded, tears falling freely. "I am ashamed." Uncle Uche sighed deeply. "Stand," he said. "Apology is not kneeling. It is change." He looked at me. "This marriage can still live," he said, "but pride must die first." I felt tears in my eyes. For the first time, hope felt real. We sat together under the mango tree. No music, no food, just truth. Dara listened as Uncle Uche spoke about dignity, about how poverty is not dirt, and how words can wound deeper than hunger. "I was once rich too," Uncle Uche said. "But I never lost my respect for people." Dara nodded again and again. She did not interrupt. She did not defend herself. Before we left, Auntie Alice brought out the wooden box again. She placed it gently in Dara's hands. "We brought this to bless your marriage," she said. "Not to be insulted." Dara held the box like it was fragile. "Thank you," she whispered. On the drive back, Dara was quiet. Not proud quiet. Thoughtful quiet. "I didn't know healing could hurt this much," she said. "It hurts because it's real," I replied. When we returned to the city, messages were already spreading. Someone had seen us in the village. People were talking again. This time, the story was different. That night, Dara cooked for the first time in our home. She didn't announce it. She didn't ask for praise. As we ate, she said softly, "I can't promise perfection." "I don't want perfection," I replied. "I want growth." She nodded. Outside, rain began to fall gently. I listened to it and realized something had changed. Not everything, but enough to begin again. Life did not become perfect after that visit. Change never comes like magic. It comes like practice. Some days, Dara tried. Some days, she failed. But the difference was that she no longer defended her pride. A week later, my family invited us for a small gathering. No wedding clothes. No photographers. Just food and conversation. Dara was nervous. I could see it in the way she held her bag too tightly. When we arrived, my mother hugged her. Dara froze, then relaxed slowly. She greeted properly. She knelt slightly. She used soft words. It wasn't forced. It wasn't loud. It was careful. During the meal, my younger cousins laughed freely. Uncle Uche told stories. Auntie Alice teased me about childhood mischief. Dara listened more than she spoke. At one point, she stood up and cleared her throat. The room quieted. "I want to say something," she said. "I know I have hurt this family deeply. I don't expect trust to return quickly. I just want you to know that I am learning." My mother nodded. "Learning is enough to start," she said. That evening, as we drove home, Dara looked at me. "I lost many things that day," she said. "Friends, image, pride. And what did you gain?" I asked. She smiled faintly. "Truth." I reached for her hand. This time, she held it gently. The wound was still there, but it was no longer infected. And I knew the final lesson was still coming. Months later, people still talked about the wedding where guests walked out in anger. But the story had changed shape. It was no longer just about shame. It was about correction. Dara and I learned to walk slowly. We attended counseling. We argued sometimes, but we no longer insulted. When anger came, we paused. When pride rose, we named it. One afternoon, we visited Uncle Uche again. This time, not to apologize. Just to sit. Dara carried groceries on her head, laughing awkwardly as children cheered her on. "You are changing," Auntie Alice told her. Dara smiled. "I'm trying." On the way back, Dara said something that stayed with me. "I used to think marriage was about looking good together. Now I know it's about standing right together." I nodded. Our marriage survived not because love was loud, but because pride was confronted. Many couples hide cracks until they become walls. Ours was exposed early, in front of everyone. That exposure saved us. If Dara had not changed, I would have walked away. Respect is not something you negotiate forever. But she chose humility, and humility made room for healing. Sometimes I think about that wedding day, about the guests who left, about the insult that shook everything. They walked out in anger, but they also walked out with the truth. And because of that truth, a marriage that should have died on its first day learned how to live properly, slowly, honestly, and with dignity.
Thank you for watching. If this message spoke to you, inspired you, or made you reflect, please subscribe so you never miss what's coming next. I'd love to hear from you. Drop your thoughts, experiences, or opinions in the comments. Your voice matters here. Don't forget to like this video if it resonated with you. More heartfelt, honest, and relationship-building nuggets are coming your way. Until the next one, protect your love and choose peace.